Well, most people don't realize the average species only lasts for 4 million years, which may not sound like much, but once you see how much a million is, that's pretty decently long time. Probably less time than that for terrestrial animals, land animals, because they have more restrictive range and habitat. And there's a strong correlation between the geographical range and the type of habitat. If there's less of it, they're more likely to go extinct. If they live all over the world, a local extinction won't affect them as much. And generally, if they're bigger, if they're more specialized in what they eat, they only are specialized to eat a certain amount of prey. Once that prey goes extinct, guess what? If they can't adapt quick enough, they'll die out. And I kind of think that's what happens so commonly with the mega predators. They're adapted. Just look at T-Rex. Once the asteroid came down, it blocked out the sunlight. So you'd think, what does no sunlight have to do with T-Rex dying out? Well, they're dependent on the plants, because the plants are eaten by the hadrosaurs, the herding big herbivores, and the T-Rex eats those herbivores. Once the herbivores die out, once the herbivores starve because there's no more plants, they die out, and because T-Rex has nothing to eat, they die out too. So you have to realize, look at the big picture. It may not be the most exciting explanation. It may have died out before that. I don't know, but definitely by that KT boundary, very nasty conditions. And then you have why did crocs survive? Well, they're cold-blooded. They don't need to be constantly eaten. Certain dinosaurs like T-Rex were endothermic. They were hot. They were warm-blooded, like us. If we don't constantly eat, we either get super thin and or starve to death. So just a much higher metabolism, whereas a crocodile could probably go months without eating. So if you don't believe me that the giant snaggletooths went extinct because they were weak and got out-competed, guess what? There's still one species around. Hemipristis elongata, or elongatus. See the pointy lowers, broader serrated uppers. Believe it or not, that's my only shark jaw to date. Only shark tooth. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get more of these, but I don't want to buy from some supplier that's getting them from the wrong sources. But yeah, these only live in the Indo-Pacific, but Hemipristis sera, the giant one, lived all over the world during the Miocene and Pliocene a little bit, when sea levels were higher, dugongs were everywhere, so these things thrived. Or the sera. There's some more giant snaggletooths. Here's my Bone Valley one I found in a phosphate mine. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet one. Nice colors. Phosphate mine teeth, you get those nice colors, but I'm getting sidetracked. So definitely they became extinct everywhere except the Indian Ocean, West Pacific. They left. Some of them adapted and became smaller, more generalist predators probably, and Hemipristis sera went extinct, but the smaller ones survived, which I'm thankful for. Even though they somehow found a complete one, so we would know regardless that their lowers and their uppers are from the same individual. I've heard that paleontologists at first thought the lowers were from one species and the uppers, you see how different they are. You can kind of see that. They just landed in the Riker Mount. But even today's sharks, the other kinds of gray sharks, their uppers and their bottoms are very different. And except like tiger sharks, their uppers and lowers look pretty similar, but they're kind of an exception. But anyway, Carchariforms, gray sharks, why did they take over the laminiform reign, or the Otodus, the great whites, the Megalodon, more active open ocean sharks? And maybe it has to do with the ocean being less stagnant. If you look, I'll probably post more of this on my website, but overall there's been more currents maybe less open ocean. You know, they're more generalist predators. That's probably the main factor. Carpariforms, they have the slender bottoms, the broad serrated uppers. They can pretty much eat whatever they want, and they're cold-blooded. Not to say a lot of lamniforms aren't. They're probably cold-blooded too, but there's such successful generalist predators. I can see why there's only 15 species of lamniforms left. That includes the makos, the great whites, the goblin sharks, the megamouth, sand tiger. They're dying out. That's just not because of humans, and there's hundreds of gray sharks. You think about a shark, you're probably thinking about a gray shark, a typical normal shark, not including Finding Nemo whale shark. You know, typical sharks, or gray sharks, they're here to stay. Yeah, they're dying out, but at least like the bonnethead, those things will survive past humans. Humans are going to go extinct sooner or later. Don't get me started on that, but yeah. What about living fossils, or the dead clade walking groups? It includes the amazing, incredible horseshoe crabs. I can make a whole video on these. Well, I couldn't. I'm more specialized in the vertebrates, but these things are amazing. They've lived pretty much unchanged since the Silurian, way before the dinosaurs. These things are amazing. They can live in the ocean when there's zero oxygen. They can live off of feeding on little, I don't even know what they feed on. They can feed on pretty much anything they want. They don't even need oxygen to survive. I'm pretty sure they can breathe air. They're book lungs. They're actually more related to spiders than crabs, believe it or not. Well, the arachnids, if you look closely, I don't know if you can see it. Well, this one probably doesn't have it, but they have hair-like structures, especially on their legs. I have some bigger ones, but this is one of my more complete ones. Also, the coelacanth. People before the 20th century, somewhere, they thought they went extinct with the dinosaurs, and then they found them. They were washing up around the Indian Ocean. Like, oh crap, these things are still alive. But now they're just restricted to the bottom of around the Indian Ocean. So, you know, those are the lobe-fin fish. Pretty weird looking. You know, they swim really unique. They're really interesting. I don't know if I would dive that deep personally. I want to scuba dive someday, probably, but to go see a coelacanth in person, that's something else. Yeah, there's reasons why they survive for so long. You know, just because there's one species left doesn't mean that they weren't successful or they're going to go extinct. Just look at humans, horses, snaggletooth sharks. What else? There's lots of groups. There's only one species left. There's only two species of alligators left, the Chinese and the American alligator, but those aren't going extinct anytime soon. It's just, yeah, so just because there's one species left of something doesn't mean it was doomed from the start or going to go extinct anytime soon, believe it or not. There's a horsetooth, Pleistocene, Ice Age period. Well, of course, the Ice Ages, the glaciers didn't make it to Florida. So, really happy about that, so I can find these shark teeth. That's a baby megalodon. A little broken one. Oh, big baby. Big baby. But, yeah. So these were really dominant. But because this video is all about extinction, I can't avoid a couple of big case studies. The Pliocene Interchange, as Central and South America became connected, that cut off it disrupted the currents, the current flow, and probably stopped a lot of upwelling around the Caribbean. So with less upwelling, less nutrients, everything pretty much in free fall, decline. But also it fudged up things around the area because now all the animals between the Americas could flip-flop. And guess what? There was a lot of competition, you know, with the mass migrations, and most of it was North American species outcompeting the South American species, like the terror birds. Even though there's one big species that lived in Florida for a little bit, and probably the bear dogs and the saber cats and stuff probably outcompeted those. And you got the ground sloths, you got the big armadillos. They lived around Florida and the Americas for a little while. Big interchange, a lot of turnover, land animals. And then of course you had the late Pliocene extinctions, where they, the woolly mammoths, the Columbian mammoths, ground sloths, capybaras, tapirs, dire wolf, like all the big Ice Age mammals that used to live all over the place in the Americas just suddenly just vanished. Either that was probably environmental or humans, or both. I think it was both, but just because there's correlation doesn't always mean causation. It's my opinion. I think it was mostly environmental, because humans can only, unless we're talking about a really isolated small area like an island or like an isolated population like the stellar sea cows, I think that species was doomed to go extinct sooner or later, just for how specialized and how restricted its range was, regardless of humans being greedy and wanting to eat them. I don't really blame them too much, but yeah, environmental changes is just pulling the rug out. Humans can only pop, like, and then we can't wipe out a whole species that is all over the world. That's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, please tell me. There's a lot of people who believe humans killed all these megafauna, but for how big America is, I believe it's mostly the wet. I mean, it was pretty cold during the Ice Ages, but I think the winters during the Ice Ages, apparently during the Holocene, or the end of the Pleistocene, it was still cold, but it started raining a lot more. And trust me, you don't want to be out in the rain when it's super cold. So as silly as that sounds, I read this in a book, that can totally cause destruction, as any other seriously bad weather. Those kind of things don't stop. Yeah, that's pretty much it that I have on my slate right now. Extinction is a really interesting process, in my opinion. It's always going on. It's going on at rates way too high right now, but what can you do with people being so greedy, wanting to dominate the planet? But extinction rates right now, they think it's between 0.01 to 0.1% of species go extinct every year. Yeah, that adds up. Of course, there's a lot of species that are in no risk of extinction, but all the ones that are really important, sharks, are going really dangerously close to extinction, so they need protection. And in my website, I provide a page. What can you do every day, make it a habit to help save sharks and other ocean life? Because most oxygen, believe it or not, does not come from trees. It comes from photosynthetic organisms in the ocean, and sharks are a big part of balance in the ecosystem. So if you don't believe fish and sharks are connected to your well-being, you need to reconsider your priorities. So yeah, I hope you learned something. Like, comment, subscribe. Typical. If you have any questions, disagreements, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I said in there you may disagree with. Don't expect you to agree with every point I say, but definitely let me know. Oh yeah. I'll keep posting videos, telling you about extinction, animals, and if you have any suggestions of what kind of videos I should make, because this is more fun than I thought, more fun than expected. That's my first car, Honda Accord. Shark poster, bony fish poster. I hope I'm pointing the right direction. This is my room. Yeah, just let me know. Alright, see you. That's like a money shot right there. Hello world. YouTube. Whoever wants to listen to me. Shark nerds. Again, Homo sapiens, we're kind of an exception to everything. Not to say we're special, we're just another. But yeah. Maybe we could probably go a month for how fat we get, but not me per se, but yeah.